Hi, everyone. A warm welcome to the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center. My name is Adeline Ooi. I'm Director Asia, Art Basel. Today, we have a very special guest star and a dear friend of Art Basel, James Chau, the host of China Current, a multi-platform program, storytelling program.
Yes.
Right? Did I get that right?
It's absolutely right.
And also, in this context, a collector friend who will be here to tell us a little bit about his favorite picks from the show.
Adeline, it's such a pleasure, and it's so nice to meet everybody here on this live stream. Thank you very much for joining us from wherever you are in the world today. May I just quickly start by saying thank you very much to Art Basel, particularly the team in Hong Kong who have made this possible. You can see that there are thousands of people around us at this full-scale fair, or what feels like a full-scale fair. Maybe not for you, but I think at this time when so many of us are feeling despondent, when we've been plunged into a state of grief and mourning, this is the hope, this is the vibrancy, and this is the future that we need to see, and you've made it possible. So thank you for that.
Thank you, James. I mean, it really means a great deal for us to be able to stage this show, you know that. And the tremendous support that we've had from Hong Kong and from all our guests from around the world virtually has meant so much to us this year.
So what we're going to do today is to draw a little bit on my background as a television news anchor. I've always been reporting and telling people about the news and the shifts geopolitically, socially, economically as they happen. And I think that's very much informed my choice of works that you very graciously asked me to share with everyone here on this live stream. So let's start off with this. We're here at Allison Fine Arts, which is celebrating its 40th birthday this year.
Let's see.
You know, the reason why I selected this work by Zhu Chun is because recently I was exposed to the collection of M.K. Lau, which is also shown during a previous Art Basel. And understanding not only the technique, but the colors that we see in black. I mean, we often think that black is just black. But black is, we discussed the other day. I mean,
black is never black.
Black is never black.
Black is never black. Yes. And look at the ink here. I mean, look at the, look at the wash as well, and the movement of the brush. It's really, I mean, the eye cannot stop. Your eye just has to follow the brush as it moves, right? Don't you think so? And this is even more special if you look at this, the text here that says it's based on a poem from the Song Dynasty.
Zhao Li Qing, that Zhu Chun borrowed and replicated here in a more artistic fashion. So this is really, really special. And I know we're going to see more calligraphy a little bit later. But we also want to say happy birthday, happy 40th birthday to Alison. And through the head of the gallery, Daphne King. Daphne, this was the very, very first gallery that I visited when I moved here 20 years ago. And I went to Beijing in between, but this gallery's meant a lot to me when you were up in Prince's Building, and it really showed me the world as it was becoming. Being 40 years old, you've really captured how China and Asia has shifted in all these decades as well. So what does 40 years mean to you?
Oh, just means, having a legacy and being able to promote Chinese contemporary art really to the world.
It's really special, isn't it?
Yes, it's very special. And also to be able to see Hong Kong evolve into this major art hub. And, thanks to Art Basel and many other institutions that have been growing here.
Well, I was at your 35th birthday, the gallery, which you celebrated at the Central Library, which is now a major vaccine center.
Yes, that's right.
I think that's appropriate because it all brings together life and society. And I know that you've done so much toward that end. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Daphne.
So, onwards and upwards
on to the next
place. So this is just a bit of the scale to everyone at home, where you can see how amazing this fair experience is, despite the concerns elsewhere in the world. We've got David Swerner over here, and then coming up, we've got Ben Brown. How do you feel as the person who put this all together, as the architect, seeing this every day for 5 days?
You know what? I can never get tired of this. And I know come Sunday, I am going to miss every single booth, that is already, that will be taken down. And it would have come and it would have gone so quickly that you almost feel like that never really happened. And I would sit there and ask myself, did it all happen?
But we're having dinner, aren't we?
We are.
We're going to have dinner and we're going to celebrate this moment. And
indeed. I mean, of course. And there's just so much to see. Is for me, every day there's a new discovery. There's a painting that I haven't noticed.
I mean, one of the stars of the show is the Ikebana, which is not obviously a work, but Adeline Fine Art. They've got the Zhao in the center. I mean, they really are special works everywhere that you turn around. Yeah. And I know she's purposely staying off camera.
Yes, Anna's camera shy and she's running away from us. So.
Anna, hello. How are you?
Okay, on to the second work of your selection.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more.
And Worth has two works that I really, really feel this wonderful connection to. As a former student of music and of the piano, this is a libretto work by Charles Gaines. A libretto, of course, everyone knows, is the text of an opera or a long vocal work. And libretto, libretti in Italian also means small book. So when you look at this piece, layered like a book with the acrylic, hand painted on the outside with the paper, with a text on the inside, but also, as you can see over here, you've got the notes and then you've got the annotations. When we were students of music, you'd always annotate, or in this case, the composer or Charles Gaines is showing us and guiding the performers to how to interpret that particular phrase or to how to construct that musical expression. So that to me brings me back home.
This is fascinating. I never knew you studied music.
I know.
So I suppose this is sort of like a duet between you and I.
It is a duet, but you're very much the lead.
Oh, no. Here we are. It's all about you, James. We want to hear what you love.
May we go in and see another piece over here?
Let me guess. The Cindy Sherman.
It is a Cindy Sherman. So we'll walk across over here. I think Fiona may be here.
Perhaps, but you tell us why you love it.
Well, until Fiona gets over here, we're going to look at this. Obviously, Cindy Sherman. It's a very large print of about 1.7 meters high. I think seeing this already on a preview image is quite different to what we see over here in terms of the scale.
Oh, indeed. And look at the gaze. It's arresting. It's powerful.
She follows you, doesn't she?
She does. And it's almost, it makes you feel really uncomfortable in some ways.
Uncomfortable?
Yes.
I think I need to be watched a little bit sometimes. I'm very naughty. But you can see here the very heavy makeup, the very precise makeup, the teased hair, the sort of semi-parting, and then the hair loose again. The big jewelry, the multi-strand pearls, and the off-shoulder, I suppose, evening dress in front of this incredible architecture. Reminds me very much of the great American fortunes that propped up the English aristocracy from the 1800s onwards. People like Winston Churchill's mother, Consuelo Vanderbilt. And this reminds me, I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a tribute to her, of course, Wallis Simpson, the Duchess of Windsor. I think we have over here Fiona. And Fiona's the head of the gallery here at House.
Hello.
How has this experience been, and how did you select the works that you chose to show here on your walls?
So basically, it's always kind of a concept that we established once we decided to participate at the fair. And we were really thrilled to be able to bring new artworks that come fresh from the artist studios to our booth here. Some of them are works by George Condo, who's going to have a beautiful show at Long Museum. Jazz piece over here. The work that you just introduced, Cindy Sherman, is a new addition to our artists family. So obviously an honor to kind of present her work first with such a beautiful society portrait.
It is, yeah.
But it's also an honor that you're presenting it in Asia.
Absolutely, we do. Thank you
This is no mean feat, is it? To bring these glorious works, and of course we're privileged that some galleries were not able to be here in person, but they shipped their works in, and you are here, of course, with your Hong Kong gallery as well, as being in London and elsewhere. But Fiona, thank you very much for allowing us to be here with you.
Visiting us.
No.
See you again soon. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
Take care. So if you're watching at home, this is a virtual walkthrough with Adeline Ooi, who helped put together this extraordinary experience for us all. We've been to a couple of galleries. We looked at some 20th century Chinese brush and ink. We've just seen some photography. We saw some portraiture. oil with aniline. I think this is something really different and a real treat because Adeline and I come from a shared background in Southeast Asia where Islamic cultures are the norm. And this is Pi Artworks. I wonder whether you can draw on your own personal background in Malaysia. Being part of that Islamic culture, what does this mean? I see repetition in geometry, but I think you see something else.
I mean, it's great that you pointed this out, James, and also given our shared origin, I was instantly struck by this work when I first saw it. So this work is by a Turkish artist by the name of Semichalu. She is perhaps one of the most, one of the earliest generation of women artists to have made a success out of her career. And this is really interesting because one of the key takeaways from this show is Asian abstraction for me. And as I've said it before to many of our friends who may not be so familiar with abstraction in Asia, is that abstraction is really never what you see is never what you get. So for example, this particular work, which is titled Mediterranean, is an example of Gulai's geometric work. So interesting anecdote is that she actually started out as a figurative painter who was very concerned with light. So painting on canvas. But eventually, after 10 years of sort of experimenting, she just felt that she was not able to express herself fully. And so as a result, she decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to my Anatolian roots. I'm going to look at craft making. I'm going to go back and look at what women would do in her society. And she decided to do away with figuration and decided that, you know what, I'm going to find my own way of coding.
Well, we can see over here, we've got the wire and the wood. And we saw this being installed the other day.
Exactly.
I mean, these are
66 pieces.
66 pieces that came
form
66
a 3-meter work.
That form a unit work. I think also of Orientalism.
I do too.
I think of Turkey as being as much in Europe as it is in Asia.
Yes.
And the way it connects the Silk Road to China or from China, that's very special. But as we make our way over to the next work, there was a very interesting point. You say that she's a woman artist, but in fact, there's a twist to that.
There is a twist to that because when she first started out in Turkey, and at a time when it was not common for a woman to be an artist, she actually never wanted anyone to know her gender.
She didn't.
She didn't.
I mean, these days,
she just wanted to be recognized as an artist. Exactly. And here we are, and
in 2021.
Exactly. And also, if you think about her struggle, going against the grain, going back to a craft making tradition, which perhaps was not so much accepted as an art form at the time, and also trying to tell women's stories. So, for example, the patterns there, they embed a whole layer of her personal experiences, her personal stories that, cannot be told.
There's a really fun story that I want to tell everyone at home. During the Paris climate change negotiations in Paris, of course, in 2015, I happened to celebrate my birthday when I was off duty for one night at Kamel Manour, this wonderful gallery in Paris, which now has multiple spaces there. They're here with this central work from 1979 by Liu Fan, the Korean artist. And he really draws on the traditional Japanese experience of using this technique, which is native to silk painting, but also what they call in English, onceness, using one brush per work, then discarding with
and
it.
one color.
And one color,
So
in this case.
Therefore, the dancing part as well.
And then when you use that one stroke, that's why the ridge from top to bottom is thicker, but also more intense in that texture. And then, of course, it goes down. So that is wonderful. And that, of course, is Bailey, who is the representative, the director of Kamel Manour here in Hong Kong. Thank you very much for showing us this piece. 1979. 42 years. I mean, we always talk about contemporary being 2021 or 2020. I mean, it's so nice to be able to see something which is from a couple of decades ago.
Thank you so much for bringing this to Hong Kong, my dear.
Thank you,
Kamel, in Paris. It's a pleasure. It's lovely to see this every day.
Thank you. Well, Asian cultures are part of the unique aspect of this Art Basel in Hong Kong. We started off with Zhu Chun with the calligraphy. Now, your grandfather was a school principal in Malaysia. He was very strict and regimental with your education.
Yes, he was.
Which is why you can write and you can practice calligraphy unlike the rest of us.
Well, no, I mean, I can still hold a brush, but that doesn't really mean I'm very good at calligraphy. But this work, I have to tell you, this is really one of my favorites. And this is one thing this one work I'm going to miss when the show is over.
4 panels.
4 panels by Wang Dongling, who is perhaps best known, one of China's best known calligraphic artists. Now, this is so special because it is what Johnson Chang, who is the great founder of Han Art, of this gallery.
Probably behind the wall.
Probably behind the wall. Well, this is what he calls the entangled text. So, and if you look at this, it almost looks like gibberish. It looks like words are getting caught and bound with each other, almost knotted up. But if you think about stepping away from this panel, and if you look at it, they almost look like a forest of text, a forest of calligraphy. And this work, I find, you can stare at it forever and you can continue to see new things and always find new marks and just new gestures. And this is, this is really, really breathtaking in so many ways.
Do you know what I see as a news person? I see this as an era in which too many of us have access to a microphone when politicians are entangling their words like we see over here. I mean, there's no distinct word cloud here, but isn't it so fluid and beautiful, and the way it flows?
Yeah.
And
the energy. What I love most is in calligraphic work, especially of this scale, is the energy that gets trapped within, right? If you think about the way the brush touches the surface and it's just, and the marks that it makes as it goes along. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Here we are.
So originally, for everybody at home, I had selected a work called Pandemic Love, but Desart has been rotating their work. That was a work that was shown on day 1. And this is a work that happens to be shown now by Mike Yitong Tu, a Hong Kong artist who uses computer gaming and source artists on Taobao, which is an e-commerce site where you can buy everything from phone covers. Do you have your phone cover here? You have your phone cover. Adeline got her phone cover there. You can buy furniture, you can buy everything on Taobao. But this is the piece here, I Make Babies. It was conceptualized by Mark. And the reason why I chose it, Pascal Desart, who is the owner of Desart, is because I saw the babies and I thought, well, what better sign and stronger sign of hope and renewal at a time of loss in the world? But I only see women here.
There's no men in there. We don't need men anymore. And well, this dystopian world of future, there's no men.
How are they making the babies then?
If you can see here, you have 8 clones of her avatar. She works on the game The Sims. And from there, she creates a dystopian world. And then she did create, do a snapshot, a screenshot of the actual image on the screens and send it to Tabo after.
So you don't even need men anymore in the world, right?
I guess
not. I think we're redundant now. But you've got the gallery. I don't know what I'm going to do.
That's why still the galleries and the galleries out fairs are still very useful,
But a very quick look here, this triptych. What was also very interesting is that, of course, you can see it doesn't precisely match up. The colors are a little bit different. The technique may be a little bit different because it's 3 different artists that Mark, the conceptualizing artist, sourced on Taobao. So I believe that she gave them the canvas size, the direction.
Just the canvas size. She gave them the image.
You see.
And none of the artists on Taobao is aware that it's going to be a triptych.
Oh, they didn't know?
They don't know.
Okay.
They just have the size, the image, and that's it.
Well,
so you see over here.
And they don't know. So that's why you see there the difference in the lining is different, the color, the hues are different. And that's, you see, this one is even more pixelated than others.
And
like
the orange and the skin color here is not
exactly. No, it's not. And that's what makes it very strong. That's what makes it so important.
Pascal, it reminds me of the Exquisite Corpses, the surrealist game, almost.
Yeah.
Where you pass one on to the next, without knowing what picture is painting or drawing.
She's a conceptual artist. So the end game today in the market is to create a painting and put it on a wall. And that's what the market is asking. So in the same way, she's commenting on that. And that's why you have a painting on the wall here.
This is truly, thank you very much, Pascal.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
This is really an art fair for everybody, isn't it? I can see my family right behind the camera.
See, this is a family affair on a weekend.
This is a family affair on the weekend. Hi. That's my brother.
Oh,
So we've got a couple more works to see here.
absolutely.
Now,
Now, I know this is a highlight of yours.
It really is.
This is your
I've never
favorite.
been to this gallery in person, only to your booth at Hong Kong Spotlight, which was this curated mini capsule fair that you had in November 2020. And there was this, I believe, a 5-panel work by Stephen Wong, who's pretty young, from Hong Kong. And he's also a very keen hiker. So Stephen drew on these regular hikes that we were all taking in Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong really is special. You think of the signage, you think of the branding, you think of the luxury retail, but what about this? The incredible landscape and natural world around us at a time when we're trying to fight the adverse impacts of man-made climate change, carbon emissions. And I can feel all this forestry absorbing all the emissions that we irresponsibly put out. In Hong Kong, if you don't know, I mean, we're here in Wan Chai at the main convention center. I think you and I can take a car about 15 minutes away, and we'll be somewhere like this. So Stephen Wong drew on that. And I think very much, even though it doesn't say pandemic, it doesn't say 2020, it very much is a symbol of the reflection and the rediscovery of the natural world behind us. If we could take that camera a little bit closer as well, you'll be able to see.
Marks.
Yeah, why don't you take us through the purples?
Look at the purples, look at the greens, look at the, look at this, the little orange squares which denote built up homes perhaps.
And then the sky that unites us all.
No, but I think, I think this is a very typical Hong Kong painting. And especially if you think about it, if it's made in 2020, and if you think of it in context of the pandemic, I mean, every single Hongkonger, most Hong Kongers were hikers throughout 2020 because there was nowhere else to go.
And one more thing before we go.
Yes.
Right over here is this dense housing collection of people. What I learned from that excursion through the MK Lau collection of 20th century Chinese painters was through Confucianism. Through that philosophy, we realize that we, man, we're tiny. We're absolutely, look at that. I mean,
we're a speck.
We're a speck. And I think we should never believe that we're more than that speck as well.
Absolutely.
There is one more work at Exit Gallery, which is by another Hong Kong artist.
Which also references pandemic life.
Exactly. Chau Chun Fai. This is Guilin Street, which is over in Kowloon. I mean, this says pandemic, of course. This is very much the world as it is. We're so used to the lights, the shops,
the hustle and bustle of a typical Hong Kong night.
Housing on top of the shops, and what is it? Dead quiet.
Yeah.
And then here you've got the testing centers,
the face shield, the PPE, the tents, which has become really the normal. I think the sort of common motif that we all see across the world,
and the concern for one another.
Absolutely.
So that's another piece at Exits. Before we exit, shall we go down a trip over here?
Yes, shall we?
Okay.
Let's take a little walk across.
There is a major installation over here, which is Andrew Look, a Hong Kong Eurasian artist. He's got Haunted Salvage, a rotating 8.5-meter work.
Did you know that it's actually carved out of polystyrene?
No, I mean, I was going to say to you, it looked to me like natural formation, like a crystal rock.
Or even the corals, right? But this is actually, most of it is made out of corroded and carved polystyrene. Again, a sort of connotation to man-made and natural, what it is, where does it end and where does the division begin?
I met Andrew last night, purely by coincidence. And I said, are you at a gallery? Because now I'm an artist. I was quite taken aback. And he said, it's 8.5 meters. You can't miss it. It's in the center. And it rotates. And I said, what's the rotation for? And he said, it's about the shifts in politics and perception here in Hong Kong and maybe elsewhere as well. We've got one more place to go to, and it's Massimo De Carlo, a gallery that I first visited in London, a multi-story house.
That is a beautiful space.
And they had Lee Kit in the low ground. That was a couple of years ago, but here, they of course have a gallery in Hong Kong. This piece is called Night. It's by Maurizio Catalan. Of course, on the surface, it is a flag. The flag to all of us represents pride. We all have a flag. We all belong to somewhere. In the traditional sense, of course, it represents nationhood, statecraft. And we've seen how damaging that's been, not only in the last 4 or 5 years around the world, but at a time globally when our politicians seem to have ignited a culture of inward thinking and populism and nationalism. This flag is not colorful, it's black. It's painted matte black. It's based on an American flag. I'm not sure if the 50 stars here are really representing the American flag, but as a symbolism, there are bullet holes in here that are actual bullet holes, which you can see through and perhaps see something else. So Claudia Albertini is the director of the gallery here in Hong Kong. Claudia, I picked this work. It's very funny because you actually have a revolver facing this piece. I know that's coincidental, but did I pick the right work to represent your ambitions here of your collection?
I think so.
You did? I did.
I think so. It's a timeless piece, as you described very well, is a remarkable new work by an artist that has been working with the gallery for many years. And of course, it represents a lot that we share. He also talks about art history. He talks about different concepts that have been analyzed by previous artists in the history of art, and they basically live forever.
But you know what, Clara? The holes, I mean, they might reference bullet or shots, but at the same time, it almost looks to me, it reminds me of Fontana in a funny way.
Well spotted, yeah, it is.
Does, doesn't it?
It does, it does, it does. The way Fontana slashes.
The slash, but here it's the perforation.
It's perforation.
And if we could go a little bit closer with the camera here, it's not flat. I mean, there are grooves here, as you would see the stripes and then the stars, they all project. So it's not flat like a cloth flag. There is the texture, there is the dimension, and even the bullet holes are very different from one to the other, how they've been created and the impact of the shape that there comes out. Claudia, I was also thinking about Black Lives Matter and this enormous moment of global reckoning in which we live, where social movements have become a frontline issue for all of us. Maybe perhaps this is the representative work of our times and this perfect work to finish up our little presentation on.
I hope it is, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, my dear. And thank you for telling us a little bit more. I think before we end, I do believe we have a special guest up, someone who wants to drop in to say hi.
We do?
I believe so. Just not too long ago, a few moments ago, I've been told that Mark would like to say hello to us from the webinar.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. Hi, James, can you hear me?
Okay,
I don't know if
let's see if the tech works.
We'll get Mark up here. But in the meantime, while we connect that for you, I mean, it's really an extraordinary experience here because right outside the doors, I can see the institutions, the bookstores, the publishers like Taschen. I mean, this really makes the fair, that it's not just booths that have been cobbled together by individual galleries that detach from one another, but there is a language that sings through all of this.
Well, I think for us, it's also trying to get a snapshot of just the art scene in Hong Kong as well, as not just the galleries, but non-profits and bookstores, and it's really about the entire community that makes up the Hong Kong.
Should we check some of those stores out? I'd like to get a book actually.
Only one?
Well, I just get my birthday gift later this evening.
All right, then.
So I think that we're almost done over here, and we just want to say thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
No, thank you, James. Thank you for taking this walk with us and telling us about what it is that you love about the show. And
God bless all of you.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Mark is on.
You do? Yeah. Okay, so it's not quite goodbye.
So not quite goodbye, but it's hello, Mark.
I don't think Adeline and James can hear me.
Okay,
so I'm just going to say
hi, Mark.
Hi.
How are you?
Sorry, everybody, bear with us on the technology. I just want to say that was an amazing.
Everyone, the great age of technology. Oh.
It's going to switch in a minute.
No, it's going to switch. Wow, say something.
Can you guys hear me?
It's good to see. Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm great.
We're delighted to be here, and it's such a thrill. It feels like the big coming out for us.
And I'm heartbroken not to be there. But I have to say, this was a year in which all of us tried to become broadcasters or somehow talk show hosts. And I think James just gave us kind of the platonic ideal of how to do a walkthrough from the show floor, because it was not only an extreme passion for culture, but also, I think, a great way to bring in, politics and society as well. And I think that's an important thing. So, James, thank you so much for your passion and for your perspectives. And, we all wish we could be there, and we'll all be there next year. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Here in Hong Kong.
Bye.
Let's go check out some
Let's
books
go.
now.
Let's take a walk.
Take care. Bye-bye.